Expo in Los Angeles. I went out there a week early and went to bars, restaurants, taverns, and found the most cheerful, fun people and hired them on the spot. I hired 100 fun women and men. We sent them out into the crowd to give out candy and prizes, to cheer, dance, and throw beach balls. And it worked. The energy level was much higher, and everyone had more fun. Now we hire beautiful men and women who are totally choreographed ambassadors of fun performers for every expo we do, and many of them tour with us around the country. I added some sex appeal to adult education in New York and ultimately around the country by putting good-looking women on the covers of our magazines, like other urban magazines such as New York Magazine, People, Us Weekly, and Esquire. I took the staid industry of continuing education and made it sexy and fun. The same can be done for any business or industry. Look at a business with a different set of eyes. How can you change it, improve it, make it more user-friendly? Getting advice from experts. When you want advice from an expert, ask your question and sit quietly. Do not do what most people do and start to answer the question or make it multiple choice. You'll only distract the expert, who will often just parrot back what he or she thinks you want to hear. If you truly want objective advice, do not be so insecure that you have to tell the expert how smart you are by suggesting answers. The expert is smart, and the expert is being paid. To get the best advice, let the expert work to find an answer based on his or her own experience and perspective. Follow Jim Collins' advice from his excellent book, Good to Great: Why Some Companies Make the Leap and Others Don't. And put smart people on your bus. When I first started the Learning Annex in the 1980s, it began growing so fast that I needed a chief financial officer right away. I couldn't find the right person. I took out ads, I asked around, and I even hired a headhunter who cost a bundle and sent me all the wrong people. Then I was having breakfast in a bagel shop in Greenwich Village one morning, and I noticed that the waiter looked familiar. I realized it was Clive Kabatsnake, a guy I knew in college, and who I remembered as being very smart. I could not understand why such a smart guy was working in a bagel shop. So we started to talk and get reacquainted. He was originally from South Africa. He was touring around the United States and started working at the bagel store when he ran out of money. I soon discovered that he was basically open to anything. The only job opening I had was CFO. I thought, he's smart. I trust him. What do I have to lose? Clive turned into a great CFO, and years after he left the Learning Annex, I still get great advice from him. He became a very successful entrepreneur, having made millions starting and selling many companies. I always look first for smart people. When I bought back the Learning Annex in 2002, I thought about who were the smartest people I knew and trusted, and how could I get them to work for me. My oldest friend, Andy Hyams, was one of the smartest people I knew. We had been best friends since 4th grade. Andy had gone to Harvard Law School and Harvard School of Public Health, and he had made a successful career in the public sector. I had always had great respect for the contributions he was making, but at the same time, I got the sense that he was no longer being challenged. The way he talked about his work, his heart was not in it anymore. I wanted him to work for the Learning Annex, but I did not want to pressure him. Then I saw my opportunity. I told Andy, I'm treating you to a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within weekend, which is a 3-day event that culminates with participants walking barefoot over several yards of hot coals. I had some doubt that Andy would go through with the firewalking part of the weekend, but Tony Robbins had plenty to offer even without the firewalking. Andy was a big skeptic, and he gave me some great excuses for not going to the Tony Robbins weekend, but in the end, he trusted me and went. At the end of the weekend, he called me from San Diego. "Life-changing," he said. "Really?" I was genuinely happy for him at that point. Nothing else really mattered, but I couldn't resist asking, "Did you do the firewalk?" He replied, "Yes. When I get back to work, I'm giving notice, and I'm going to hang up a shingle. I'm going to open my own law firm." I said, "Great. I'd be proud to be your first client." People told me I was crazy for hiring a lawyer with zero experience in business, contracts, corporations, and tax law. I said, "Don't worry. First, he is smart, he has great judgment, and he isn't full of himself. Second, when he doesn't know something, chances are he can learn it. Third, if he can't learn it, I trust him to hire experts for us, because he'll be as careful with the learning annex's money as he is with his own." It all proved to be true. Andy has worked smartly and hard, and it has been great to have him join me on the learning annex's wave of success. Like Donald Trump says, value loyalty above all else. I'm a little unorthodox when it comes to hiring, and to be honest, most people that work for me do not last very long. The reason is that my standards are very high. As an entrepreneur, I have learned that you have to lead by example. That's easy for me to do because I set high standards for myself. I work very long days, and I expect the same from my executives. I work weekends and holidays, and I expect the same of my team. If somebody wants a 9-to-5 job, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're not going to succeed with me. If a job applicant asks me what the hours are, the interview's over. It's not unusual for me to be emailing ideas back and forth with my executives at 2 a.m. To work these round-the-clock hours, you need more than a good work ethic. You need passion for what you do, and a hunger to do it better than anybody else. I'm a risk-taker, and I like to hire risk-takers. For example, in 1986, a young kid approached me for a job. I kept turning him down since he had no experience, but he kept sending letters and stopping by the office. After 6 months of rejecting him, he offered to work for free. That was a crazy offer, but it showed me that he was hungry. He wanted to get his foot in the door at any cost. So I hired him. Harry Jaber has been with me for 20 years and runs our mega expos and our operations. Another great person on my team is Heather Moore. Heather had experience running nightclubs and managing talent. She knew nothing about buying media, but she was conscientious, really cared, and had the I-can-do-anything attitude. Today, Heather runs our media, buying in excess of $20 million a year. She also runs our publishing department and public relations. No one has titles on our business cards, mainly because at different meetings we all have different roles. There are a handful of other employees and advisors that I have worked with through the years, and they all share the same traits. They are passionate, loyal, diligent, and they all share my sky-is-the-limit mentality. There is a saying, mediocrity stands in the way of greatness, and I try to think about that when I hire people. If they do not have the capacity to be great, they're just taking up space. If they cannot excel, then they are taking up space of somebody who can. Entrepreneurs do not have the luxury of enormous budgets and huge staffs. They have to hire people who can do the work of 10 people. For this reason, I tend to hire people who are smart, flexible, and generalists. When I need a specialist, I hire a consultant. If you hire smart people who are willing to work hard, you do not need a huge, expensive staff. Share the wealth. One more thing. I'm a big believer that you have to reward people for the job they do. People that last with me get rewarded very well. We're in the expo business, but we function like a Wall Street firm. Everybody shares in the wealth. I use this strategy with employees, consultants, and anybody I do business with. You have to give the people that work for you a piece of the pie. It's okay to overpay for people who deserve it. And if somebody is not pulling their weight, do not hesitate to get rid of them immediately before they spread the disease throughout your company. The disease of mediocrity. I had an employee 4 years ago who was a booker. He booked our speakers. He was just okay. I took him out to lunch for a review and saw he was having trouble making ends meet. New York is an expensive city, and since he had good taste in clothing and shoes, he was barely getting by. He was spending his time thinking about his money problems and not about getting speakers. I didn't know what to do as we walked back from lunch to our offices. On Fifth Avenue, he spotted a Versace suit in the window. He said, "That is an amazing suit." I said, "Let's go in and take a look." He tried on the suit, and it was amazing. And so was the price tag, around $7,000. At the time, I wanted to book Dr. Nicholas Perricone, the famous skin doctor, for a speaking tour of my cities. I knew he had been working for weeks to get the booking, but Perricone had proved to be very elusive. So I said, "Get Perricone, and I'll buy you the suit." We got back to the office, and a few hours later I saw he was leaving. I asked him, "Where are you going?" He said, "To pick up my suit." I looked at our big bookings whiteboard, and sure enough, he had nabbed Perricone. Business owners have to realize, if you want an outrageously great performance from an employee, you have got to provide an outrageously great reward. He no longer works for me, but before he left, he thanked me for motivating him to outdo himself. It's a simple formula, but so many business owners cheap out, and by doing that, they only hurt themselves and their businesses. If an employee of mine works his guts out, and as a result adds $100,000 to my bottom line, the $25,000 bonus is a bargain. To sum it up, the world is a horrible place. Lions kill for food, but people kill for sport. People try to kill you mentally, especially